Hey, what up, YouTube? This your boy Sporty Black checking back in, man. Okay, so today, I'm talking about Georgia and the reason they're a blue blood. And this video is piggybacking off of the video that I uploaded last night when I was talking about the true blue bloods of college football. I gave a detailed analysis of the metric that I was using to come up with the teams I came up with. I narrowed it down to 16 teams, and then 10 teams end up making the cut. But actually, it was only 7 teams that actually fit all of the criteria. And of course, Georgia was one of those teams that fit all of the criteria, and it was one of the 10 that made the cut as a true blue blood, right? So I shared it to my Facebook. So a lot of my Facebook buddies, you know what I'm saying, they different fans from different teams, Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, so forth and so on, right? So I had a couple people, wanted to argue the fact, they know I'm a Georgia fan, so of course, they're like, man, how is Georgia blue blood and Miami ain't, Florida State ain't, Florida ain't, right? So, we was having a real back and forth argument or whatever, or a debate, not even an argument, more of like a debate, putting up different facts and things of that nature. And if you go watch my previous video, you'll see the metric that I use. I don't want to break it down again. But so this video is just simply, giving a statistical approach to why I picked Georgia. It wasn't, based on me just being a big Georgia fan. It was based on the stats and the facts and the wins and the losses. You know what I mean? Because, again, I reiterate that college football is and always have been about the bowl games. The bowl games has always been the main staple of college football. Now, they came with the playoffs, things of that nature. So it kind of devalued, so to speak, some. But here lately, they trying to involve the bowl games with the playoff to give some of these bowls more meaning again, you know what I'm saying? To, get it where people stop sitting out the bowls and things of that nature. But anyway, with no further ado, I just want to touch on some of the facts and the stats of why Georgia is indeed a blue blood, right? Okay, so for instance, they have a 667 percent all-time winning record. So that means they win 66% of the time, 2 out of every 3. Now this all time, right? And they're 12th all time, in their statistic. They have 63 bowl games that they've competed in. That's the second most all time. They have 38 wins, 38 bowl wins. That's the second most of all time. They also have, speaking of bowls, they have a record 18 different bowls that they've appeared in, 18 different bowls. That's a record, right? Some of which are 2 times they've been to the Rose Bowl, 5 times they've been to the Orange, 3 times the Cotton, 7 times the Peach, 12 times the Sugar Bowl, right? They've been in a lot of bowl games. And when they get to the bowl games, they have they won a lot, but they also have a 627 bowl record. That's 11. Meaning when they get there, they win, contrary to teams such as Michigan, who have a horrible, they below 500 when they get to the bowl game. And they lose, right? Also, they got 4 natties that they claimed. Then they got 4 unclaimed national championships. They also have multiple undefeated seasons, 1946, 1980, 2022. Then they have another undefeated season when they had 1 tie. It was way back in the gap, 1920 or something like that. But all of this stuff is, all these stats and these metrics are, it's for all the teams that's out there. It's just your history, what you've done throughout being a program, right? Okay, Georgia have 5 number 1 NFL draft picks, right? Of course, they got a lot of tradition. They got 28 top 10 finishes. They got 15 top 5 finishes. And then a lot of people say, well, Georgia really, they just now start winning, or they start being dominant. Georgia been winning for a very long time. A lot of people forget just how good that early 80s era for Georgia was. You know, they remember they won the championship in 1980, but 80, 81, and 82, they had a hell of a run. They won the SEC all three of those seasons, and they basically competed in the national championship all three of those seasons. They won in 80, then 81, I think they went back, and they lose to Pittsburgh, was it Penn State? But they lost to Pittsburgh one year, Penn State one year. But all three of those years, they won one. But if they would have won those other two games between Pitt and or Penn State the following year or whatever, they would have won 3 straight then. So basically they competed for 3 straight titles, you know. But also, you know, like I said, Georgia, they've been playing football for a long time. They've been winning for a long time. And they've been really consistent for a long time. If you think about it from, let's say, from the year 2000 to now, which is 25 years, they've been really, really consistent, and they've been one of the best programs in terms of wins and just productivity, just in general. And then, of course, in the Kirby Smart era, he took it to another level for Georgia. He has 2 national championships, we all know. He got 3 SEC championships. The man was the fastest to reach 100 wins in the SEC, even faster than Nick Saban. He has a 105-19 win-loss record. 105 wins, 19 losses, which is 847%. So he's like 85%, you know what I'm saying? And majority of those losses came in his very first year when he lost 5 games, right? He got 4 CFP appearances. You know, he been to the national championship game 3 times. In 2017, of course, they lost to Alabama in overtime on the pass from Tua Tagovailoa to Devontae Smith, right? So Georgia got a lot of history and a lot of stats. Of course, the first team in the CFP era to win back-to-back national championships. That was one hell of a run. 29 straight wins, 3 straight undefeated regular seasons in the SEC. Man, come on, that is unheard of. You know what I'm saying? If you can go undefeated in the SEC 3 straight years, come on, man, that's pretty tough to do. So, you know, they got a lot of stats, a lot of accolades. They spent 677 weeks in the AP polls. That's 10th all time. They got 392 NFL draft picks. That's 8th all time. 41 consensus All-American. That's 14th all time. You know, so all of these stats, they up there. So for me to have them in the top 10, and I didn't really rank them from 1 through as far as the team that made the blue blood list, I just, you know, you just made the cut. You know, we'll probably rank those teams from, you know, from the greatest on down to see who's the creme de la creme in college football, you know, to really rank them, you know, all time. But that'll be another discussion for another day. But today, like I said, this is just solely giving the stats and the credentials of Georgia, why they are ranked as one of the blue bloods of college football. And I intend to give another detailed analysis on each and every one of the other teams that made the cut, such as Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, or Texas, or Nebraska, or Notre Dame, or LSU, USC, Oklahoma. You know, the teams that made it. You know, I'm gonna give a breakdown of them, all of their stats, and, you know, just stat checking and fact checking, you know, because there's a lot of these schools that had good runs, but they ain't really did too much sense. If you think about it, Miami got 5 national championships. They done had a few good runs, you know, throughout the history of their program. Their last natty was in, I think, 01, and that team is arguably one of the best of all time. But you got to think, they've been in the the ACC for like 20 plus years or so, and they've yet to win an ACC championship. You know what I mean? So those are facts. You know, so it's hard to just put them in that blue blood category. Although they have had, you know, some nice runs of some different eras where they was at the very tip top of college football, the Jimmy Johnson era, Dennis Erickson era. You know what I'm saying? Even Bush Davis had a few good teams or whatever, but they ain't make the cut. It's just based on inconsistency, just overall. You know, compared to some of these other teams who've been playing football for a long time and they've been really winning for a long time, way back when and even now. You know what I'm saying? Like, speaking of Georgia, they've been winning for a long time. They've had their stretches, they had their runs, they had their, their dominance. Like right now, Kirby Smart got them, it's definitely a top 5 program every year consistently. You know what I mean? What he has eight straight years where they finished in the top 7, 8 years in a row in the top 7. So that in itself, you know what I'm saying, is proof in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? On top of all of the other stuff that they did throughout their history and the traditions of them playing football. And then speaking of Georgia, man, when you really go to looking at them compared to some of these other teams that maybe, ranked ahead of them on this blue blood list or whatever, or all-time greatest program list, a lot of these teams, Georgia ain't played them that many times, but when they play, Georgia beat them. Georgia beat them. Ohio State and played Georgia, I think, twice in history. One time back in the day when they had Kirk Herbstreit quarterbacking, they went up against. It was in the '90s. They went up against Georgia and Garrison Hurst. Georgia won. I think it was the Citrus Bowl, and of course they played the Midnight Miracle game, the Peach Bowl, a couple years ago. Georgia beat them. So Georgia 2-0 against them. Georgia is, I think, like 3-1 against Notre Dame. Who else? Some of these other schools. I can't remember a lot of them, but like Oklahoma, I think they played them once and they beat them. It was a really, really good game. Speaking of which, that was a Rose Bowl game. That game is the highest scoring Rose Bowl game ever. A lot of people say it's one of the best college football games, bowl games of all time. Definitely top 5, if anybody can remember that. But it was the 2017 season. So the Rose Bowl for that year, when it was Georgia, Jake Fromm, quarterback, against Oklahoma, they had Baker Mayfield. Everybody remember that game. That's a really good game. Then also, Georgia got the largest win margin in bowl history when they beat TCU 65-7. They won by 58 points. Ain't nobody ever did that. Then that was the biggest blowout in national championship history. That was the largest margin of victory in college sports for as a national championship in any sport. Ain't nobody ever done beat somebody that bad for a national championship, man. But when you check the record book, Georgia gonna be up there. Yeah, they gonna be up there. They turned around, came back the next year, and tried to break that record against Florida State in the Orange Bowl. They beat the skin off Florida State waved the flag and had every excuse in the book why they got beat so bad. They ain't even recognized. They wasn't passing out rings. They went undefeated. Come on, man. You can't go undefeated. You got that on your resume. That was a bluster. It got butchered, son. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we a lot of players sat out. Georgia had players sat out too. But I digress. That's a different topic. So when you check the record books, a lot of the college records, Georgia gonna be popping up a lot, especially when it comes to a lot of these different bowls and these bowl games, stuff like that, because they there every year. They in a bowl, and they most of the time they winning these bowl games. But yeah, so basically it just talking about Georgia and why they are, considered to be a college football blue blood. But if you got any rebuttals or you think they shouldn't be in there, tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. And if you don't know the top 10 that made the list, go check my my other video that I uploaded yesterday. The Blue Bloods of college football, the real Blue Bloods of college football or whatever. And y'all just let me know what y'all think, man. Do y'all think Georgia is a blue blood, or you think they right there on the precipice but ain't quite made it? If you agree or disagree, just jump in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think, man. Go Dogs.